My name is Tom Offenberg. We're doing radiation safety for the new hybrid suite here at St. Mary's Hospital in Madison. And we're going to start with the very basics. Then we're going to talk about what causes some differences in exposures for the staff in the room. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the care and feeding of the film badges that you'll be assigned. Start with the very basics. The x-rays come from the x-ray tube, which is this device down here, go through the collimator, up through the patient, and are attenuated and collected by the image receptor, which is this device here. The source of scatter radiation for the staff is not the tube, it's not this, it's the patient in between. So if you have to worry about, if you're concerned about where the radiation is coming from, it's coming from the patient. There is more scatter going back down beneath the table than there is coming up above the table in a position like this, where it's anterior or posterior anterior. As we move to different angulations, such as, let's see if I can make this go. Such as this, now the scatter is more likely to come out toward the patient, to the operator here, and there will be less on that side. So there will be more radiation coming back toward the tube at all times compared to what's coming out this end. Things that affect the amount of radiation that comes off the patient are how much radiation the patient gets is the number one thing. And the thing that controls that is how big the patient is. Larger patients will have much more scatter radiation than smaller patients. The distance, the further this image intensifier gets above the patient, the further it gets from the tube, the harder the tube has to work to make the images, and so therefore will make more scatter radiation. So as this gets up in an angulation such like this, the SID gets longer than when it was in the AP view. So this is going to cause more scatter. And as you go even into a, let's see if we get this to, nope. Something such like this. This is even, the SID has gotten even longer, and now we've got a lot of radiation coming back out this way, but very little going out that side over there. Other things that make an impact is what field of view you have. If you have a large field of view like this, which is covering the entire thorax of the patient, you'll get more scatter than if we go to a smaller field of view, such as this, which only shows a small chunk of the heart. Fortunately, in cardiology, we're going to spend most of our time with a 22 centimeter field of view, which will give us less scatter than we get in with the larger ones. And even there, once we've got something like this, if we collimate, bring the field size in to a smaller thing, we'll get even less scatter because we're exposing less of the patient. Okay. I think those are the major keys for how much radiation the patient gets. Size of the field, length of the SID, how much scatter you get is orientation to where you are in relationship to the patient in the entrance beam hitting the patient. Things that we can do to protect ourselves. We have these aprons, extendos that will do, remember we said a lot of radiation is coming out the bottom of the tube of the patient. So this will be helpful to protect our lower from our waist down, especially for shorter people. Lead aprons like these, thyroid collars, leaded glasses, we'll see. Lead aprons will block about 98% of the radiation that's hitting you. and thyroid shields are helpful, and lead glasses will stop about half the radiation that hits them. Distance is another thing that's very powerful. If I'm standing right here at half an arm's length away from the patient, if I move back an arm's length, I've now doubled my distance, but due to the inverse square law, I've reduced my exposure by a factor of 4. So it's a fourth of the radiation here as opposed to here. And again, if I go from here to here to here, I'm down about a tenth of the radiation I got up there as the belly up to the patient. So it's the people who are working directly on top of the patient are the ones who are going to be getting the high doses. As you move further out to these areas out here, you're getting very low levels of radiation. The state laws require that anybody who is within 6 feet of the patient have to wear an apron. That's because of that principle I just explained there. I think that's it on time, distance. Shielding is, and we mentioned that shield labrings will absorb 98% of radiation. So, you know, they stop a lot. The other thing we need to talk about are film badges. Your film badges are required to be worn outside your lead aprons because they want to measure what you're getting to your whole body exposure. And that includes what your eyes or face or things outside the aprons will get. So if you have one badge, it needs to be outside the apron, preferably near the collar, like I'm wearing mine. And the important thing is that your name needs to face the radiation. If you are, the badges are designed to be sensitive to the front or accurate when measuring radiation coming through the front of it. So you don't want to be having your badge this way. It will read falsely high. If you have it oriented this way through radiation, it'll read falsely low. If you read it this way through radiation, it'll be accurate. And so make sure that your badges are not flipping around on some lanyard where you never know which way they're facing. So clip them to your body, to your shirt, to the front collar of your, like this would be great. Something so it's going to face the radiation. The second thing on film badges is there is a control badge that Warren Zirkin keeps, and that control badge will subtract out the background radiation. The only way we know how much background radiation you're getting is if your badge is turned in and is processed at the same time as that control badge. Otherwise, you will have a falsely high reading, and we want our readings to be accurate. Exposure levels that you're expected to get in a cath lab like this, if you are working close to the patient like this, you could get close to, without counting for the attenuation of your lead aprons, you can get close to the limit. The limit is 5,000 milligram a year, or 1,250 in a quarter. And standing, working in a busy cath lab right here, you can get close to that. Now, the badge got 5,000, they're wearing aprons, they're getting 2% of that. So it's nowhere near actual those levels. If you are standing in the second tier out here, we would expect you to be getting maybe a tenth of that, maybe 500 over the course of a year, which is the amount of radiation that the public is allowed by law to get. Not counting all the benefits you get from working here. You do get benefits from working here, I hope. It's called paychecks. And then if you are beyond that, you're at the levels that are near background radiation. And just so you know, background radiation, when we mentioned that the limits for occupational workers are 5,000 a year. Just from being alive, we get about 300. Everybody walks down the street in the United States gets someplace between 2 and 500 milligram a year, just from natural sources of radiation. I think that is the really short version of the radiation safety spiel. Okay, I'm done.